Welcome back to our Uplevel Strategies podcast, where we elevate faith, business, and personal transformation with conversations that ignite purpose and unlock potential. Today, we have a great special guest, truly someone special. We're joined today by Amie Sponza. She is the founder of Act Now Life Coaching, and she helps women whose mission beautifully aligns with the heartbeat of our community as well. She helps women advance in their careers by building the confidence, clarity, and courage they need to step boldly into the roles that God has prepared for them. Now, she's got over 45 years experience in the creative arts as an actor, director, and producer, and is has an advanced certification in transformational coaching as well. So Amie brings a completely unique approach that blends performance, mastery, and faith-filled personal development to the scene. And she works with women who struggle with things like self-doubt, speaking up, feeling seen, and she really helps them create a compelling vision for their lives and to take bold action and step into their God-designed influence. Her story, her heart, and her gifting make her a catalyst for growth. And today, she's here to help us reconnect with the dreams that we've buried, the confidence that we may have lost, and the identity that God is calling us to reclaim. So you're going to want to grab your notebook, settle in, and get ready, because this conversation is going to awaken something inside of you that is very powerful. So Amie, welcome to the show. We are so honored to have you here.
Well, thank you, Dena. That was quite an amazing introduction. I appreciate you sharing all that, and I am pleased to be here with you today.
Awesome. Awesome. Welcome. So, Amie, now you work around helping women build confidence and step boldly into their calling. Now, how has your own faith really shaped the way that you see vision, purpose, and the courage to act now?
Well, I was raised in a Catholic family. I went to Catholic grade school, and then after that, went on to the main junior and high school in my community, and it's always been a part of my life. And I think the things that we're taught as young people kind of really stick with us. When I was in college, I did some more experimenting and learning about other faiths, and went to a more universal chapel at my college that kind of welcomed all denominations. And I ended up coming back after I got married and had my children and all that. I got involved with my church again, and first as a Eucharistic minister and then as a reader, which I'm doing now. And then last year, they were looking for teachers for the religious education program, and so I volunteered. So this is my second year now, and I find it very gratifying. So sharing your faith with young people who are curious and still they're learning who they are and what their relationship to others, to their peers, to their parents, to their community, and to their community of faith. So I definitely bring that in when I'm dealing with my coaching clients. It's more, I would say, until I know more about them and where they're coming from, I keep it general and speak of God, universe, higher being, whatever language they want to use. It's all the same thing. It's all comes down to love. And one of the questions that I start with is, what would you love? Right? What would you love your life to be like? What do you feel called to do? A lot of women who've been in service to their family, their partner, their loved ones, whether they're taking care of parents or they're taking care of children or grandchildren, they kind of lose track of who they are. Who am I when I'm not being that caretaker, right? So it's like, what do you want to do? I don't know. Well, what did you love to do as a kid? Because often that's where the clues are. And I believe that each of us has a calling, has a talent, has a gift, perhaps multiple gifts that we are meant to share, God-given gifts. And I don't remember what reading it is, but it's the one where if you're given one task to do and you do 10 others or 100 others and you don't do the one, it's as if you have accomplished nothing.
So, what would you say to a woman who really feels stuck or maybe overwhelmed or afraid to kind of like move? How do they faithfully take that first step, even when they feel unqualified?
That is often the case where we have self-doubt and we question, do I have enough experience? And, many women who went right into being a wife and mother and didn't go to school, didn't get a degree and feel like, well, who am I to, but you have life experience, right? You have raising a family requires a lot of skills. Taking care of a household requires a lot of skills. So I usually start by asking them to assess where they are with their health, their relationships, their vocation, or how they share their gifts in the world, and their time and money freedom on a scale of 1 to 10. How satisfied are you in those areas? And then focus in on one that needs the most attention, that you feel dissatisfied with, and not how, but what is it that you would love to be doing that you're not already doing? If you're not doing something you love at your job, or if you're not feeling healthy, any one of these categories that's suffering affects the others. If you're not well, you can't do your job well, you aren't showing up for your relationships well, and you certainly don't feel like spending any time or money doing anything, right? So that's first. And if your relationship is suffering, the stress of that can affect your health. It can also affect your work. So there's a harmony that has to be happening, and your focus may shift depending on what needs the most attention. So I start with those kinds of questions. And then I would say, let's jump into the time machine and jump ahead 3 years into the future. Wave your magic wand. If everything worked out beautifully the way you would love it, and you were fully satisfied with all 4 categories of your life, what would that look like? Because if you don't know where you're going, any path will get you there, right? There's a fork in the road. Take it. So you have to start with where you want to end up and then work your way backwards. And visualizing and scripting, if you will, because I use for my coming from the creative world, the theater, film, stage, it starts with a script and you get to be the star of your life. You get to direct it. You get to cast the characters. You get to choose the wardrobe, all of it, right? What is your life? Is it a rom-com? Is it a horror? Is it a sci-fi? Is it a mixture of all of them? Is it a dramedy? Most of us are in a dramedy. There's a little drama, there's a little comedy, right? And sometimes there's a mystery. So, yes, to make it fun, yeah, script your life. Choose who are the main characters in your life. If you're not coupled, who is the person what are the characteristics of the person you would love to be with and spend your time with? What does it feel like? Getting those 5 senses working and visualizing. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? Is there something you're tasting. How does it feel to be living the life you love? Are you sitting in a cafe in Paris having an espresso, looking across the table at someone you love and, really getting specific? And then you see the gap. Here I am now. I have my assessment. Here I am where I would love to be. How do I get from one to the other? The how, I like to say, is really not the right question. First, it's knowing the what. The how is really not our business, except we need to at least take a baby step in the direction of the dream. You can't just wish and expect it to happen. You do have to take steps. If you wanted to have a certain kind of a job that you were lacking experience in, what's one thing you could do? And then kind of do a brain dump of all the ideas and then pick one and do it. Just a baby step in the direction that you would love.
Yeah. I love that. I love what you're saying because I tell my clients the same, something very similar. If you want to go somewhere, right? But you don't call up the airline company and say, hey, I'd like to take a trip. And they're like, okay, great. Where do you want to go? And you're like, I don't know. So, like, you have to have some sort of clue in order to write your story, like you're saying. We have number 1, most people don't realize we have the power to write our own story, right? And then most people don't know where they wanna go, and so they take that path of who knows where, right? Which always takes them to wherever they decide to go, which is they don't know. And it sounds confusing, but, like, think of how that life of confusion lives out, right? When you don't have a direct path to where it is that you desire to go. So I love that you're saying all this, and, like, I think about, like, in scripture, God often calls the unprepared people, Moses, Gideon, Esther, right? And I would love to know, like, how you help your clients move from that self-doubt into the God confidence.
I would start with the breath, right? And I believe God started with the breath too. You start with the breath because when you are in that fight, flight, or freeze mode where you're just like, you just stuck, your breathing is shallow and you cannot move. And so the first step is deep breaths. Nice, deep, cleansing breaths where you're, after the inhale, it's blowing out like you're blowing out through a straw, which calms the nervous system enough so that you can rest, digest, and create. And then from there, once the nervous system is calm, then you can allow the imagination to start to work, which is one of our senses beyond the five. We have other senses that we use, the power of imagination, our power of will. There are a myriad of other tools we can use. And I say, notice what you're noticing. Notice where your feet are on the floor. Notice how you're sitting, or feel your body in the room so you're grounded. And notice that you can notice those things. And just like I show an exercise when I have my slides, you know, look around the room and try to find all the things that are red and count them, right? And you're looking for red, you're looking for red, you're looking for red. All right. And then you close your eyes. How many green things did you see? Well, when you're not looking for the green things, you don't really pay attention to them. And that is the reticular activating system in our brain. Where your attention goes, energy flows. So, like, you're decided you're going to get a red Corvette, and before you never really noticed them, and now you see them everywhere. They didn't start making more of those cars. You're just paying attention to those things. So it's the same thing in our life. if we're focused on where we want to go and we know where we want to go, all of a sudden things start to happen that you never would have noticed if you weren't paying attention. Opportunities arise. A phone call comes in. Like what happened to me, I had written down in my journal one morning, I would love to be invited to be in a short film shooting in my local area, working with like minded creative people and being part of the creative process. This was after the pandemic, and I was just like, I need to do something creative.
Right.
So then, then I took my dog for a walk, and while I was on the walk, I got a call from a friend. I didn't take the call because I was talking to another dog walker. But later I said, I better call him back. And when I did, he said, Hey, Amy, it's Joe. I've written a short film. I'm here with the director. We'd like you to be in it. Can you meet with us today? What? Like a miracle, right?
Yeah.
And we don't know all the wheels that are turning for our benefit until we lock in on the thing that we would love and we start moving in the direction of it and get clear about what it is we would love to do using the gifts that we're given. I feel like performing, speaking in public, being creative is part of my calling. Being of service is another part of my calling, which is why I combined the two by becoming a coach. Because once I saw how this worked for me, I wanted to be able to teach other people how to do it. And I had a client who worked with me for a year, and she started out with, she was so stuck. She just wanted to pull the covers over her head and crying on the phone, single mom, divorced, lost herself. And now she's preaching what she learned. And she's gone from thinking, I want to be in childcare or early childhood development, but then realizing that that wasn't going to give her the flexibility she needed to be there for her son. So she started helping the elderly. And then that led to working with a woman who said, encouraged her and said, you might want to consider going into nursing. And and she was like, well, how am I going to do that? I have this little boy. I don't have a job. How am I going to? So I said, well, what's one thing you could do? So she came up with, I could get my CPR license. And then she said, I could go to the college and talk to a guidance counselor and ask about what it takes to apply. And then I suggested, having done so for my theater company, apply for a grant, find out about scholarships. I believe as a single mom, you would definitely qualify for scholarship money. She got a full ride. So she is now she's starting with, it was suggested to her that she go for it's like a medical assistant first.
Oh,
So that
yeah,
she
like a CNA.
Yeah, yeah, similar, but so that she could start working and while she's going to nursing school and she'll have some income to supplement while she's going. So she's thrilled. She remembered how good she was in school and how she was a pretty good student. And even though she was nervous, it had been a long time since she was in school, it started coming back to her. She needed a little math help, so she got a tutor. But she's doing it and she's loving it. And I'm so proud of her. I feel like I've launched another child?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And that is awesome. And I feel like, many women listening, they may feel torn between where they are and then where God's calling them to be. And like, can you kind of speak to that a little bit? Like to help align those visions of like, I feel called to this, but I'm way over here, you know, like you're talking about those things, like moving in the direction. of, your divine calling is really everything you do.
I think the key is if you're not doing the thing you love for money right now and you have to have your full-time job, whatever that is, that maybe you hate, maybe you're tired of, maybe it's just you're doing it because that's what pays the bills. At least do what go in the direction of the thing that's pulling you, at least as a hobby or a test the waters. Put a toe in the water. Do something just that going to investigate what does it take to be a nurse? What do I have to do? And you may find that it's not as hard as you thought it was. And when you do, doors will start opening and you'll meet people you never would have met if you hadn't taken a step. Things will start to fall into place because if it is God's will for you to do it, you know, the stepping stones are there. You just can't see them. Like in Indiana Jones thing where he had to take the leap of faith and he couldn't see it. And there was a great chasm and he took that one step and landed. And then he was able to throw the sand and see the rest. But it's that leap of faith. And she's not the woman I mentioned is not the only one who said it was a leap of faith for me to invest in myself with a coach. But I'm so glad I did. She had been wanting to write a book for a really long time. And she was out on medical leave because her job made her so sick. And after 6 weeks working together, she had been working her resume and going out to job applications, interviews, and we worked on her vision and specifically what she wanted. She wanted a six-figure job working in the city as an executive assistant where she could be hybrid, part-time in the office, part-time at home, so that she could write in the morning and wouldn't have to be there till the last one out, and that she would be working with people she liked who respected her. And she wrote all this out, and then she went on an interview that ended up offering her exactly what she was looking for, and she got the job.
Wow.
I coached her to believe that the job was already hers and she was interviewing them because really it has to be a good fit for both sides. It's having the confidence to know I'm worthy of work that I love and I deserve to be paid a fair wage and I'm worth it.
I wish we could all show up in that. And, to that point, like fear shows up in a lot of people, right? The fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of being seen, And so, yeah, how you I'm sure you've seen it.
Oh, yes, and experienced it, of course. So I like to use the 3D. So first we design. You design the life we would love. And then you make a decision for it because without a decision, it's just an idea, right? You have to decide I'm going for it, even not knowing how it's going to happen. You have faith. You take a leap of faith and you decide. The most successful people in the world decide they're going to win and then they go do it. So when you do that and you make that decision, your nervous system goes, "What's happening? I don't like it. Status quo, keep me safe. The tiger is after me. It's going to eat me." You get all your heart starts beating faster. So thoughts become things, right? A lot of us will practice the worst case scenario, right? So our thoughts affect our feelings. And we know that because when we think a scary thought, we feel our heart beating faster, right? And when we think joyful thoughts, we are happy, we laugh, and our feelings affect our actions. When we're scared, we take different actions than when we feel confident. And our actions lead to our results. So your thoughts lead to feelings, lead to actions, lead to results. So you have to be careful what you're thinking. I tend to not watch the news so much anymore.
Yeah, which all of the what you're saying is very biblical too. It reminds me of the time where Jesus is in the boat and they're heading to it's where the spirit of legion meets him when he gets off the boat, and he's looking for what he has in common with Jesus, and it's nothing, right? But, like, our thoughts, the enemy uses that fear to trap us, speak to us, minister to us, get us stuck in chaos and cycles, right? And so, very, very biblical that we overcome that spirit of fear because God did not give that to us. He gave us the sound mind, right? And so, yeah, I love that you're saying that. Very, very much so, very biblical.
And so that third D is dance with your fear. I like to dance because it's creative and dancing is fun. And so you say to your fear, I see you, fear. Thank you for trying to protect me. I know you're going to be with me. You're going to be my partner. But you know what? I'm going to lead. Let's learn this new step. Come with me. We're going to try it. And once we start trying it, we're going to get better the more we practice. Right? So dance with your fear and get out on the dance floor. Get out in life and take a step. Follow those who've gone before you. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Make it your own. Don't worry if you don't look the same as someone else. You're not supposed to. You're unique. You have your own gifts. You have your own way of speaking, your own way of moving. And someone out there needs that uniqueness of you.
Love those tools. That's amazing. The 3 Ds.
3Ds. And then the fourth one is do it. Take action. Act now.
So profound. I mean, in women in leadership, we do often we come up against like spiritual or emotional resistance. And so those are amazing tools. When somebody experience like even though they're doing that and they experience some setbacks, maybe some criticism or some self-sabotage, you work with them to get over that as well.
Yes. Yeah, well, you ask yourself the question, is this thought useful to me? Is this thought true? Is this thought productive? How can I turn it around to make it to reverse it, to flip it on its head and take the 10,000-foot view and say, all right, if I'm looking back at my life, if I go to the end of the tunnel of my life and I'm laying on my deathbed and I'm looking back at this moment in time, does it matter that I don't get it perfect? Probably not. I was just reading something about how, you know, pass fail in school, you have to get in the 75 or above, or you want to be you getting an A, you've got to get an A or a B to get into college, you've got to have high grades, blah blah. But when you look at the stock market or baseball stats, the ones who are doing amazing, who are in like the top of their field, they're only slightly over half. Like 51%, 55%, and you're doing great in the stock market. Like 0.003 batting average, and you're still doing okay. I mean, that's crazy. But what it teaches is as long as you keep getting up to bat, as long as you keep swinging, eventually you're going to hit the ball. And everyone is going to be like, woohoo, You bring the runner in, you make a home run, whatever it is. You get on base. You're playing the game. Get in there and play the game. Because if you don't, I mean, our life is a spiral, like our DNA is a spiral, and we're either spiraling up, learning and growing and continuing to thrive, or we're spiraling down and we're dying and we're not doing what we're called for. You see it with people who retire and then just sit back and couch potato and don't do anything with their life. They end up dying shortly after they retire.
Yeah, weren't meant for that, sitting around doing nothing. Mhm. Need that purpose and that vision and that momentum. Yeah, that's what we're designed for. Absolutely. Yeah, and so how would you speak to really trusting God's timing?
Well, I mean, I think there are plenty of examples of that in history and even in current events. You see people like Louise Hay, who didn't start her publishing company until well into her 70s or even 80s, I think. I mean, there are people who there are actors who didn't really make a dent, like didn't make it, quote unquote, until later in life because now they were character actors and they thrive in the grandma role. Right now, I'm a first time grandma. And so many of us, I mean, historically, we lived in a society where everyone lived in close proximity, if not in the same house, where you had the old teaching the young, right? The example being set right within the home. And so being a grandmother is such a gift. I I mean, I didn't have my daughter until I was 30, and now she's a mom, and she waited as well because she didn't find her love until later. So at 63, I'm just thrilled to have my first grandchild and that I get to be here and help them and show them the ropes a little, so they don't feel alone. So because there's no guidebook for parents, really. And every child is different, so you just never know and you can't really compare. So timing, I mean, my sister became a grandparent way earlier than I did because she started younger. And I think timing to say I'm not ready yet, I think a lot of us are getting ready to be ready to be ready. And so let's we keep putting off doing the thing we know we need to do. And that's how we get stuck in the status quo. And it happens to all of us. We get comfortable, but the gold is on the other side of the discomfort. And the other thing to remember is you're never one and done. As soon as you reach that goal and you celebrate and you enjoy it, there's always something else. The line keeps moving until you are done and you're called home. You've done your work. You accomplished what was what you were being asked to do. And we don't know when that is. So seize the day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And your mission is to help women become the star of their own life, right? So from a faith perspective, what does it look like for a woman to shine without striving and take that stage that God built for her with humility and courage?
I think it's a feeling, it's knowing it first inside yourself. Because when you embody that, when because right now I feel like I am shining every time I talk about my grandson.
All right, that's so awesome. I love that.
It just beams out of me. And the light is in your eyes when you talk about something that you love, then you know it's a sweet spot. And I think knowing you are the star of your life, not the supporting character, Even though you may be supporting others, your shining star moment is being of service. And when you're not being of service, you shrink a little, right? Like, who needs me right now? But knowing it inside that I am the star of my life, these supporting characters of my children, my grandchildren, my parents, my siblings, they are all the supporting characters in my story. And and then knowing it is the first thing, I think. Knowing it and then living that and trusting that you're on the path, taking each step that you can take every day, waking up with gratitude, first of all, that you're here and you have another day to do what you were put here for. Gratitude, breathing, journaling, I suggest. Write down the things that you're grateful for. Write down the things that you're proud of. Write down the things you intend to do for the day. And pretty soon, you will be recording the script of your life that you love. But go for like the 3 years out because your brain can wrap. You're like, well, I didn't do it this past year. What makes you think you're going to do it this coming year? But if you say 3 to 5 years out, this is what I want my life to look like, and design it, script it out, and then reverse engineer. What do I need to do to get there? What's the plot? What's the plot? What is the odyssey that I am on? And where are, because even Jesus went through the dark night of the soul, right? We all have a dark night of the soul. Sometimes they come in waves. Sometimes they're shadows and they're not as dark for some as they are for others, but it still feels dark to you. But know that the dark night of the soul is there for a purpose. It's there to teach you a lesson. And the key is to not have the experience without getting what it came to teach you, because you'll become something different on the other side of it.
Love it. Awesome. Amie, it's been such a pleasure to spend this time with you. Thank you.
We could go on.
We really could. Yeah. And I love how much value you bring. This has been just absolutely incredible. I'm sure you are going to touch women's lives from those that are listening to this. So if you would like to reach out to Amie, we will put her information below in the show notes. She does coaching. She is right now enjoying her new grandson, which is so exciting, and absolutely love it. You enjoy your time with him. They grow up fast, as you know. It's such a blessing. So, absolutely so grateful for the time that you have shared with us and all of your knowledge. Those that are looking for help in this arena, reach out to Amie. She can answer your questions. So appreciate you. Listeners, if you haven't already, like and subscribe, share this channel with someone you know who would really benefit from this message. And we will see you next time.